This video tutorial from June 10th will cover how the Sharpen tool in those special tools could be used to bring out the eyes of a portrait when you really don't want to sharpen the entire portrait. So let's go to the File, Open, and go to the folder for June 10th, today's folder, and in it I have a JPEG called Dark Eyes Sharpen. If you have found that, it's in the Saturday class June 10th folder, and then simply open that. Here's an example of a portrait that is purposely soft in the skin area. You certainly don't want to enhance the pores by sharpening that whole image, but it might bring the eyes out if we could just sharpen that one area. So this is a unique way of using the special tool for sharpening. And this fits in with the other tutorials we've been doing on special tools. So in order to work with this, we're already zoomed in quite nicely. This is a very small screenshot. I want you to come over to the tool panel, and where you will find the smudge tool that we used earlier, if you will click on it, you will find 3 tools available down in the option bar, and the one that is a little gray triangle is called the Sharpen tool. So click on it to activate that tool, and then if you will look at the option bar, you'll find that Sample All Layers option. That means we can work on that neutral transparent layer. So I'm going to ask you to go up to the Layers panel, and when you're there, you'll find a little torn paper. On Elements, it's up at the top of the Layers panel, and on Full Photoshop, it's at the bottom. And when you click on it, you come up with a nice transparent layer. This means that the work we do won't be touching the original pixels. And if we make mistakes, we can easily delete that layer and be back where we started. And so now that I have that layer, I come back to this tool option bar, and you'll notice there is a product detail, protect detail. I'm not certain how it works, but I leave it checked. It seems to be the default for this tool. But we do have a strength slider. And when you begin, you don't really know how strong the Sharpen tool is. So I keep it somewhere around the mid-range, like somewhere near 50%, knowing that if it isn't sharpened enough, I can go back over the eye a second time and increase the sharpening. So I like to leave it at about 50%. And of course, the default brush is a soft one. Okay? So, ready to do that, I'm going to move my mouse over one of the eyes, and I'm going to decide how large could the brush be if I'm working on the eye. It could be somewhat larger than what I did. So when I think it's about right, remember, as you use these tools and you hold down the mouse button, keep it down till you've covered the entire area to be sharpened. So I hold the mouse button and I drag it over the eye around several times, and then I lift my hand and I have added sharpness to that eye. If I wonder, do I like the amount, I go over to the layer and take the eyeball in front and hide our work. And notice how you have enhanced that. I want you to realize as you work, if we get done with both eyes and we decide they are too sharp, you will remember that we have an opacity slider. We can always reduce the effect of what we did. So I'd rather err on the side of being a bit too sharp and being able to lower it than having to go back and sharpen it some more. So I'm going to go over with my Sharpen tool to the other eye. I'm going to hold the mouse button down, and I'm going to go over the eye. If I don't lift up my finger, I'm getting one application at the strength that I chose down here, which was like 49%. Okay, let's see the effect over the whole image. Come to the eyeball. You've reduced it and you brought it back. Now, when I chose 49%, I feel it's too sharp. So I'm coming over to the opacity slider. I'm grabbing the word opacity and holding the mouse button down and dragging the word left. And I lower the effect of the sharpening. And when I think I like what I did, I lift my hand, go back to the before and after check, the eyeball, before and after. If I think that's the right amount, I'm set. If I think it's still too strong, I reduce the opacity more. And if I overdid the reduction, I can always bring it back. My general feeling when we work on transparent layers and make an adjustment, it's better to err on the side of having a little too much effect, because you can always reduce the opacity. If I didn't do enough, I would have to go back and sharpen it some more. So keep that in mind. That opacity slider is a great way of fine-tuning your work. I want you to look at the work you did and recognize that where the sharpening takes effect is where you have contrast in the image. So the eyeliner under her eye has a lot more contrast than the shadow above her eye. So the effect is stronger where there is contrast. And consequently, if I got really fussy and I said, I like this, and the eye is perfect, but the eyeliner is a little too strongly sharpened, I want you to recognize that you can add a layer mask and reduce the sharpening just where it's too much. So let's go up to that layer panel and let's find the add a layer mask icon at the top. And then we're going to click on it, get a mask that's white. And a white mask doesn't change anything. White reveals everything. If I want to slightly reduce the sharpening on the eyeliner, I need to paint over the eyeliner with black. So go over to your tool panel, find the brush tool in the draw section, click on it, and then think, to hide, I need to paint with black. So check that you have black as your foreground color. Come over to the options and say to yourself, do I want to completely knock out all that sharpening? No, I want to reduce it a little. So my opacity for my brush is going to be about 25%. And now I'm going to go up and I'm going to grab the brush and make it just the right size for the area around the eyeliner. And I'm going to paint black on the mask over that area. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other eyeliner to reduce it a little bit. And then if I want to see what that mask did, I can't knock out and hide the entire layer. I want to hide the mask. And that's done by taking the Shift key, holding it down, and clicking your mouse on the mask. And that hides the mask. And to see the change, you may need to click and unclick the mask several times to see how much you reduced it. If you didn't reduce it enough, turn the mask back on, go back and get the brush that's black, that's at 25%, and reduce it 25% more. Go over the eyeliner with your brush. On the mask is where you're working. And you are reducing the effect of the sharpening on the under eyelid where the liner is. And if you notice the mask, you've darkened the shadow on there. That means you've actually reduced the sharpening more. And to see the effect, grab your shift key, click the mask, and look at the image. Click it again and go back and forth several times. Can you see that with the mask in effect, that sharpening underneath the eye is a little less dramatic? So when you use tools on a separate layer, you can add a mask if you want to further control where the effect is seen. You'll notice by painting just over the eyeliner, I didn't lose any of the sharpening to the actual iris of the eye. I only reduced it over the eyeball, over the eyeliner. So now if I go to the front of that layer and I turn off the entire sharpening, the eye has gone down to its original, and so has the eyeliner. And if I turn that back on, I get more sharpening in the eye than in the eyeliner.